Do and welcome back to my channel. I've just got into a bit of a funk of recording, and I knew I was going to do this travelling one, but I want to get it right because I know a lot of people will be interested in it and will be intrigued on how we did it and our experiences. Let's record it, let's see what happens. I'm hoping to kind of put it into a bit of a structure, but it's me, I'm a bit chaotic, so it might not be. This video is about the travelling side of working in America and then being able to travel afterwards. Tips and tricks on what we did, my experiences from each year I did it, and just like little hacks and little things that I wish I knew at the time, and places that were cheap and places that were expensive. So please give it a big thumbs up. I love you all so much and thank you for watching. For me, obviously I went to camp in 2017. I've kind of, in the last two videos, I've spoke about the process and how we get there. Like I said, you had to pick a date to come home, and I knew I wanted to travel because I didn't want to pass up an opportunity. Now in 2017 I was meant to be travelling with a friend from mine back home. She was at a different camp in Wisconsin, but unfortunately she ended up travelling with people from camp. It kind of was very much stuck on my own, and I was like, you know what, I'll just go home. Like, I've had a really good summer, I don't want the ending to like be rubbish, and I didn't have loads and loads of money saved. I tried to book flights home. This is what I'm saying when you need to know your date in which you're flying home. It's really expensive to change my flight, and I was like, I know I don't want to travel America by myself because that just terrifies me. So I got really close to Natalie, who was like my American best friend, and it was really hard to say goodbye to her, and I knew she was in school in Chicago. And Lois, who a girl I got close to, was going to Chicago to see Natalie anyway, so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to book Chicago, I'm going to go and surprise Natalie. Thank you! Lovely. I had a lovely 4 or 5 days there, and then for my luck, my sister's best friend, who is like family to us, like I've known her since I was tiny, she was flying over with her cousin to Virginia where her dad lived, so I was able to go to Virginia for a week and do that. So my travelling experience the first year was very like last minute. It was very scary and anxious. Like, there's no advice I can give to you on that. That was just circumstantial based. But as I was saying, it is really hard to plan your first year because you don't know who you're going to be friends with. You don't know what your plans are. I'm not one of these people that could afford just to change my flight. So like I say, either know for sure that you have solid concrete plans. My second year, because I had already become friends with Becca and Megan, they were two of my friends from my first year in camp. We were going back. We knew we were going to travel together. That was always our plan. So there was going to be the three of us. We knew we kind of wanted to travel around, and I will say, and I'm sure Becca will say the same because you'll hear more about how this situation transpired. I wish we actually booked more to begin with, and I wish we could work out our finances a bit better, because we were kind of just doing it as we would book each time we got paid, which was fine, but there was a lot of silly stuff we did. Like, for instance, we were booking a flight to LA and then a bus to LA and then a flight to San Francisco, when in actual fact we should have done the opposite way because it was just easier on our like route round. But we were just silly and we were like, oh, we'll just, we'll get that. So we were a bit clueless on the best travel arrangements and how we get around. We honestly did not have a plan. We didn't know where we were going to end up. We literally sat down as a three to begin with and spoke about places we wanted to go. So we went to Vegas for 3 days, and our plan was, we always wanted to go around as many places as possible because we wanted to try as many cities as possible to see whether we liked or disliked it. And in the grand scheme of things, that did work because it did give me a lot of places that I would go back to and a lot of places I wouldn't. But there was places that we went which we really couldn't be bothered with. So we decided places like Miami and places like Vegas, like bigger cities in Texas, where we're going to spend a few days in, and then other places like LA or something like that, or I'm trying to think of other ones. We were only in for like a day or a night. San Francisco. The night before, now I don't think Megan will mind me saying this because there's no bad blood between us now. There's no, like, it is what it is. The night before we were flying to Vegas, Megan decided she didn't want to travel anymore. Now that's obviously Megan's own choice. She had her reasons for it. No one's hating on her for it. But obviously, and she'll say the same, it threw such a spanner in the works for us because oh, because we had planned for a 3 and we had planned to go places that Megan maybe wanted to go that we didn't want to go, and like there was so much more planning as a 3 that when Megan decided to go home, and like I say, that was her choice, she was allowed to do that, we kind of thought, oh god, like what are we what are we going to do? Like there's things that we didn't even realise that we're going to have to think about. Like we had to phone hotels and hostels and rebook rooms and stuff like that, especially in hostels that we lost money from, and there was so much into it. So this is another bit of advice. I wish we kind of, and I get why we did it as a 3, but I wish we kind of did it as like individuals and then like did it so we were matching up. We just booked it all together. So like Megan had all our details for Vegas, and it was just like, it was so stressful trying to like get that all organised. Becca was really good, and this is a bit of advice that Becca, when I asked her, she says that she would give, is look up like crime rates of the cities, especially if you're 2 girls travelling alone or just like a lone person. So for instance, in Texas we didn't know where we wanted to go, so Becca looked up Austin that had the lowest crime rate, so we went there. Cheapness, again, we were so silly, we didn't look up Uber rates, we didn't look up restaurant prices. We honestly went on a limb and hoped and prayed for the best, and it was the most stressful experience of my life, but also the best. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I had a horrendous time, because I didn't. So we started in Vegas. Now, in Vegas we had money, but we didn't know how to gamble. So, and we didn't want to ask people because we didn't want people to take advantage of us. So we kind of missed that opportunity of like the gambling side, and we were still really too nervous to go out drinking because we were 2 girls alone. When we were in Vegas, we were waiting in a queue to go see like an Elvis tribute act. We were kind of just wanting to see the price of the tickets, and this older man got speaking to us in the line, and then he followed us up to the desk, and it was all a bit weird, and we were like, we asked the price of the tickets, and the woman told us, but it was quite expensive, and we were like, no, we've just started our travels. And this guy like slapped his discount down, and he was like, give them a discount on me. I had like a military discount or something, and we were kind of like, oh, that's lovely, but like, no, it's okay, like we don't want to go, it's okay. And we kind of felt forced into it, like we felt as though we had to do it because he was putting this discount down. So we were kind of like, that's fine, like thank you, and like, you know, we thanked him and we were really grateful and that, but there was just something off about it. And we walked away, and we walked through the mall, and this was a really big mall. We walked through the mall, and we were talking about it, and we just kind of had an uneasy feeling, and we sat down at a bench about 10 minutes away from the actual place we had just been at, and this guy had been following us the whole time, and we sat down, and he came over to me and started demanding money, and we were terrified, obviously, because we didn't know, like, it's America, we don't know how to defend or protect ourselves, and he could have had a gun. And honestly, like, I just gave him money, and he like went, and it just was so set up, and it was so like, oh yes. We did LA and San Francisco. I can't remember in which order. LA, we weren't impressed with the day being there, but that was only because we were there a day. I'll come back to why I can say that now. Our ratings in LA were pretty expensive considering it was just the 2 of us. San Francisco we loved. We fell in love with San Francisco so much, and we wish we could have stayed in for more than a night. We also slept in LAX airport, and it was the most uncomfortable and coldest sleep of my life, and we had to take in turns so our stuff didn't get stolen. And we were going to sleep in San Francisco airport, but Becca ended up booking us a hotel or a hostel because we just couldn't, walked everywhere we got. Lost in Tenderloin. Now, I don't know if you guys know about Tenderloin, but it's one of the most notorious places for crime, which is funny in itself because Becca was looking up crime rates and that, and I had the map, and we stuck out like sore thumbs. Because that's another thing, like you go travelling, you're like, I'm going to fit in. You look like a tourist regardless of what you do. So that's why we went to Austin. We stayed at this most magical hostel that had a dog, had a happy hour, it just had a really, really good atmosphere. And obviously from the like last 3 places we had, we still never felt safe enough to be able to like drink or really let loose and be as one, and like it was fun but scary. But in Texas, the very first night we went, we loved it. Like it was so friendly and so welcoming, and the people were fantastic. We just kind of wandered about. We should have looked up pubs and clubs and restaurants. We should have done a bit more research instead of just the crime rate. But we ended up in a blues bar and it was lovely, and then we ended up in this bar and we got speaking to the bartender, and he was so great. He gave us places to go. He gave us numbers for taxis and Ubers. He made sure we got to an Uber. We got so drunk, but we felt safe enough to get drunk. And back to the hostel, it was still really good and happy vibes. Like Texas was definitely one of our favourite places. The only thing with Texas is we were running out of money and it was scorching hot. We thought we could walk everywhere. It's another thing, weather's so different. So like I say, my advice in Texas is have money and research, because we did not. The way to the airport, we got in this Uber, and now we knew that the airport wasn't far from our hostel. It was maybe about 20 minutes, if that. But we got in and me and Becca kind of looked at each other and we just had a bit of an uneasy feeling. Guys, I'm in the middle of editing this and I'm just want to say, take a shot for however many times I say uneasy, okay? Just remember that. And Becca was like chatting away to the guy, and the guy was really friendly, and I like friendly like Uber drivers, I'm fine with that. But he started asking very weird and strange questions, like, are you 2 girls travelling alone? Instantly alarm bells starts ringing in your head, and it was, are you sisters? And so we said we were, because I don't know why, we just were like and if anybody would miss us if something happened to us, and what our things are on gun violence. And you know when you start to like really pick up on it more, and I was like, this is terrifying. And he went round the longest route to the airport I've ever seen, talking about gun violence and how like America's got it right with it. And we can't say he was threatening us because he wasn't, but we also can't turn around and say that like he made us feel safe, because he absolutely did not. From Texas, I believe we went to Memphis. Now Memphis was a dream of mine. I don't even know if it was a dream of Becca's, but it was a dream of mine. I always wanted to go to Memphis, to go to Graceland. That was it. So again, we booked a hotel very, very close to the airport, because Graceland is so close to the airport, and our plan was we were going to go into Memphis, like the main street bit, and like, you know, enjoy it, because we were only there a night. We were only there to do Graceland a night or 2. We were going to walk to McDonald's. It was about a 10-minute walk. We thought, we can do that. And like by this point, me and Becca were like dirt poor. Like we were borrowing money off each other's families because we were so skint. And this is, like I say, like we just ended up in a really bad financial situation while travelling, because obviously we expected us to be a 3, there was a lot of changing we had to do, there was not great saving maybe on both our parts, there was a lot more expenses than we realised, there was just so much to it that'll go in maybe towards the end of the video. So we're walking to McDonald's, we walked to McDonald's and we got McDonald's, sat down and ate it, and then this guy kind of looked over at us and like waved at us, and we were like, oh, okay, like you're friendly, that's nice, that's what you want. And then we were walking back to the hotel, and it was almost as if the only way I can describe it is like a dirt track, and up this dirt track it was huge, and then there was a garage like further up, and then you can't even see mine, but there was a garage further up, and then the end of the dirt track was like the end of the road. And we were walking up, and me and Becca were talking away, and Becca was like, I've got a really uneasy feeling, and I was like, yeah, me too, it's a bit weird. And for some reason we just kept looking back and back and back, And then Becca's like, why do you keep doing that? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, I don't know why I'm doing it either. And then we looked back, and this is actually like, I can feel the fear like coming up in me, like I'm laughing, but no. We looked back, and the guy that had waved at us in the restaurant was now cycling behind us and like laughing. Like, it was intimidating, like it was so intimidating. And me and Becca were like looking at each other, and he kept like smiling, like replaying, waving, and there was no one around, like no one around. And Becca was like, we had three options. Number one, we could run and hope that this guy doesn't like speed up. Number two, we could pretend we don't notice him and just keep walking as fast as humanly possible. We'd be better under. Number three, we could go to the garage and hope for the best. So we decided to kind of like a walk run, and as we were doing it, the guy was getting faster but also like going at our pace that we were walking and still smiling and waving at us. And honestly, I actually feel the fear still in me. Like, it was horrendous. Like, it really made us anxious. Like, I remember both of us just bursting into tears and being really stressed. And I'm quite a level-headed person, like, and Becca will say she is more the emotional one, she is more the overthinker, but I was terrified. And we go back to the hotel and we just didn't want to go out after that. We did not want to go into Memphis. We're just, it just felt like one thing after another, and like things you don't even think about. Like, when I talk about this, I feel like I'm in a bloody movie. And then we did Memphis, the Graceland. We loved it. I had such a really good time. And we were going to go to Nashville. It was a dream of mine as well, but Megan wanted to spend more time in New York, so we did more in New York, but then obviously that cut Nashville. So we literally slept in Nashville. It was a waste of time even being there, but we'd already paid for our accommodation. So we went to Nashville, but didn't even go to Nashville. So that was kind of annoying. We did Miami. I haven't even told you about Miami. Miami was somewhere in the middle of that. Oh, so I think that was, I don't know, I can't remember like the positioning of each place we did. But we had booked a hostel. We got to the airport. I think this was Texas, because I think we were still wheeling from that guy. We were sat, I'm going to maybe in
this area, because as soon as they give us a call as to which gate the new aircraft is going to be at, we need you to be here so that we can make that announcement. But ladies,
we were sat in the airport. Our first flight was delayed, so then that made us miss the second flight. Our second flight was massively delayed. They said that there was something wrong with the plane, that it was unfixable, that we're going to have to wait for a new plane. They weren't sure how long this new plane would take, but this plane that was on the tarmac was absolutely not flying out. They just couldn't do it. So then this is a weird angle. Sorry, I need to fix this. So then for whatever strange way to Miami, and so the whole plane situation was happening. And then they said, oh, can't fix it, blah blah blah, we're going to be waiting here for ages. Then Becca got a notification telling us that our hostel had cancelled on us, and that, yeah, they'd taken our money. And by this point, obviously, we were like dirt poor, like we were living parent to parent. And then it was, oh, the plane's fixed, you can get on it, oh, maybe it's not, oh, it is, oh, it's not. Eventually got on the plane. I'm not scared of flying the plane. This guy sat next to Becca. Becca just got herself into this like space, like we're going to be fine, like they're going to put us on this plane, blah 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 blah. And then this guy goes to her, oh, do you remember what happened, like what was wrong with the plane? She's like, oh no, it was something, but they said it was fixed. And the guy turned to her and said, doesn't sound like it though, does it? She burst into tears as soon as the thing happened. So that in itself was like stressful. Eventually booked another hostel in Miami, don't even know how we did it. Which was also nicer, we got our food and that with it. This morning I said to Becca, right, I'll buy breakfast, hopefully we'll have our money back to the other hostel, but if not, like you can get lunch and then we'll just work out dinner, or we'll have dinner in hostel. Went to this restaurant again, do your research, got 2 crepes between us, I'll insert a photo, and I got the bill, and we got like no juice, nothing, just water, came to $50. This was horrendous. So again, Miami was the most expensive place for us. I feel like maybe Texas was the cheapest for us. Then went to New York, and I was kind of okay about New York, like, but I've never been to New York where I've been like richer, like, or had money to do things, so I've never really got the full New York experience. I was quite shocked at we were quite close to Central Park, that was quite nice. I was quite shocked that Times Square was so small. I remember me and Becca walked from our hostel, which was nice, to Times Square. It took us like an hour, and we got pizza and we shared a can of juice between us, and we stood in a bus stop, and it was like probably the saddest moment in our life. To Natalie in Chicago and finished that off. So that was like my big travelling. And my top tips from that is book individually, save. You cannot have enough money. Have an emergency fund for things like hostels taking your money, or like Uber's places because you don't feel safe. Like maybe if we had more money we would have went out in Memphis. Do not trust strangers that are trying to give you a discount, because they're absolutely not. Like I've just spoke about a lot of the bad stuff that happened during our time, but we honestly had the best time. Like me and Becca have a bond for life over that experience. We laughed so hard together, and we were in situations, my boobs keep popping out, that nobody can ever say they would have been in with their best friend. Like it was intense. And Becca was going to go on holiday with her boyfriend, so like we weren't travelling together anyway, but I was kind of like, I still kind of want to do something after camp. So a group of my friends flew over and we went to LA together, and we had such a good time. Just spent a week at the beach getting drunk. We went to a boat party, and it was actually really quite nice, like having my friends there. So that was definitely, I loved traveling. I loved the whole, me and Becca for those 2.5 weeks, I absolutely loved it. And I have seen so many different places, and I know what I love and don't love in America, so I'm forever grateful for that, and that's forever impacted me. And I learned a lot of lessons about myself and a lot of lessons about travelling with someone and the do's and don'ts. But I also loved the week with my friends because it felt like a holiday. It felt like, okay, I've done something. That was my travelling experience of camp. Like I say, it was an experience. Maybe like a cute little montage of like my travelling moments. I have a lot of videos from that time. And that'll be it. So if you have any other questions, like I say, from any of my other camp ones, please just hit me up and message me or inbox me, or find me on Instagram at Amy Reark with an X, and I will be happy to answer anything that anybody has to ask me, or like give you a bit more insight into my experience. So smash a huge thumbs up, and I love you all so much.
That's ready to burn, so get those stakes up higher. There's 1,000 pretty women waiting out there.
Look at you, Hadley. What do we love?
Austin!
We love Austin! We are the Austins that make the Austin so great!
Where are we, Beck?
Fine! Everything is fine.
I true love will never
on the storyboards of love. It's huge. Wow. Oh, no, wait, fucked up, mate.